Hi, Karen.
Hi, I've got to finish writing a big email here. But I'm
Okay,
glad to see you, Luann. Okay.
I just want to tell you that, of course, I was to get a delivery of three pieces of furniture. They should have already been here. And of course, they're going to come in the middle of the class. So you'll
Don't
see me
worry.
disappear for a few
It's
minutes.
all right. It's all right. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Gary. So weird. What do you want me to do? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, Mark is going to be late. So can you just send me your presentation and I will do it? Okay. Yeah, just send it again. I'm trying. Yeah, go ahead and we'll start here in about 7 minutes. No, 10 minutes. Okay. Okay.
Karen, can you hear me now?
I can hear you and I see you too.
So I fixed it.
Okay, well, how'd you do that?
I found a little button somewhere and it's all taken care of.
Well, sometimes it's just magic, Gary. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello.
Hold on a minute, you guys. I have to be muted. I'm muting.
Karen. Do I presume you've heard from, I know you're on mute. Do I presume you've heard from Sabrina?
Yeah, we're going to put her in a circle of a prayer circle in a minute when we start
Okay.
class. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. Did you get in touch with her by voice?
Not by voice, but we've been texting all week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
She
Okay.
needed some holistic healing.
Sounds like it.
What's happening with her?
Well, let's wait till
Okay.
Luann, we're going to tell the whole class. Okay. Okay. All right. I had to send that. I had to send that. Okay. Here comes everybody. All right. All right. Okay. Hi. Hi, Luann. Hi, Gary. Hi, Matthew. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Sonia. Hi, Liz. Let's see. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait 2 more minutes. Then, oh, here comes Lisa's seats. This is it. Good. And then I'll have everybody. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. Missing 2, but we're missing 1. Okay. We'll wait 1 more minute.
So Karen, I want to share a funny with you.
Okay, go ahead.
I got into work last Friday and I was checking my emails. You know, I only work the weekend, so I usually have a bunch of emails to check up on. And I started getting all these emails from the American Holistic Nurses Association. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all this. And there was like 3, 4, 5 emails. And I texted Lisa Seeds and I'm like, hey, did you get any of these emails? And she's like, I wasn't there today. I don't know. And I'm like, okay. So I tap into them. I had started an application and never finished. So they were checking up on me 5 and 6 times, but I went ahead and joined since I felt that that was part of a call.
Yeah, that's totally awesome.
Yeah.
That's totally great. Good job, Jennifer. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. All right, welcome everybody, and we welcome Gary Heisey as our great guest speaker. And before we get started, Sabrina Seraph, one of our beloved classmates, is in ICU tonight with sepsis, and she's really sick. So she sent me a text today saying that she was in ICU. I tried to call her, she didn't answer. So she's really sick. So I'd like for us to just take a 1 minute, and we're going to send her prayers of healing and hold her in the center of our space and take away her fear, give healing prayers to her heart and her body. And let's do that right now. Okay. We're going to do that for 1 minute. Okay. Okay. Jennifer, anything you want to add to that at all?
Well, we were texting earlier in the week, and she sent me some beautiful pictures of who I named Mighty Mouse and Minnie Mouse. Those were her ureteral stones.
Oh my gosh.
So she had, or the kidney stones, she had stents placed either yesterday or early this morning. So hopefully she's on the road to recovery, but she's in the right place right now. So
Okay, good. Well, thank
anyway,
you.
I just texted her the picture of all of us praying. So hopefully she'll send something back.
That's so sweet. Okay, that's great. All right. So tonight what we're going to do is check in with our geriatric assessment feedback. And if you didn't get to it, that's all right, whatever. So let's see. Lisa Seeds, did you have a chance to do the geriatric assessment, and any feedback you want to give us about that?
You'll excuse my dogs in the background because they're just who they are. Unfortunately, I have been trying to remodel the bathroom this week, and we were in Verona all day today, so I have not been able to do that. That's my plan to do as soon as we get off of here.
All right, that's all right. Do you want to check in as an animal you see this time of year as a substitute?
As an animal?
Mm-hmm.
Well, today, being in Verona, we almost hit a juvenile vulture. Swooped out of the trees. I just happened to catch a glimpse of him as he was swooping towards the car, and I slowed down just in time to dust his tail feathers. So let's say a little prayer for my little vulture friend, and that's who I will check in today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Sonia, what about you? Did you have a chance to review the geriatric assessment? Oh, I think Sonia's frozen.
Well, I'll check in. Oh, am I frozen?
No, you're okay. You're unfrozen now.
Okay, I was going to check in as a deer today.
Okay. Okay.
Just because to see how limber and vibrant they are. Um, just out of that right now. So that's what I really like to know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Liz, did you have any feedback about the geriatric assessment? Okay, great. What about you?
Well, it's a lot of it is similar to like a typical health assessment. And if I saw another one of those, I might be immediately frustrated. But I did like some of the questions further in about like if they need help at home, if they do, how often is that happening? Who would you contact in an emergency? I like how many children do you have and how involved are they? That was my immediate follow-up question, and it was actually right there. Like, are you in contact with your kids? So I think that's some really good information to get. I would hope I can maybe get some of the other stuff if they had any documents at home about their medical history. But, sometimes they forget things.
Thank you,
I
Liz.
forget things. So
Thank you. And Matthew, what about you?
Okay, let's see, an animal. Let me do badger because that keeps coming up in my medicine cards right now. Just I need to kind of push a little bit to get things done right now. But and the assessment, I really liked it. At first, yeah, I had the same thing. It's like, oh God, another 14-page assessment. I can't. But but it's really good. I think it could be adapted. Actually, now that I'm a provider, the problem I'm having in this holistic practice is they don't do any of this kind of paperwork. I mean, they're the opposite. In fact, I was reading their consents today, and I'm not covered. It all talks about acupuncture and IVs and stuff. So I've been looking at that. So this is actually an assessment that I wouldn't mind adapting just for kind of everyone, because I'm finding, geriatric or not, a lot of these questions that the people I'm dealing with right now, they're estranged from their kids. There's a lot of people. It's not even at an age limit. So I would like to know more information so I can figure out how to help them better. So yeah, I
Thank
thought it
you.
was great.
Okay, great. Thank you, Matthew. Lisa Nowicki, what about you?
There we go. I don't have a ton of input on that form. I did kind of breeze through it. I wasn't at the class last week, so yeah, I don't have a lot of good input on that. But animal-wise, funny enough, I took note of vultures multiple times today. So I don't know what wavelength the other Lisa and I are on, but and then this is my animal. I hope you can see it. Oh, here. Oh, it's kind of sideways. It's a moth. I was can't really see it very well, but it was the coolest looking moth at my dentist's office. I had to take a picture. Here, let's see, maybe that. You guys see it there? It's like this yellow. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, well, anyhow, cool moth. That's my animal. There we are. I don't know how it applies to me, but just very cool. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, Jennifer, what about you?
Well, did you send that an email or was that on Pathright?
I sent out an email and I also put it in the agenda for tonight that be checking in as the assessment, but that's all right. You can be an animal.
Okay.
You can just be an animal.
I think I'm going to be our youngest puppy because he got to run free today and I did not beat him when I caught him. And then he learned what being on a leash is about in the house and submissing to me. But I never put a hand on him. There you go.
Okay, thank you. And Luann, what about you?
Okay, so I'll check in as a bobcat. I have a resident bobcat on some property that I own, and she is very fast, agile, and she can go up a tree like nothing. And I find that inspiring. I wish I could move around like that. The assessment form, I gave it the first over. I have one word. It's very thorough. So and I like thorough. So you can adapt it and take portions that you feel are appropriate or pertinent. And yeah, so thank you.
You're welcome. And Gary, do you want to check in as an animal?
Well, I see them every day, but outside and around our house, we have white squirrels. So they're good on the ground, they're good up in the trees. You can see them jumping from branch to branch and having a good time. So I'd say a white squirrel.
Okay, that's totally awesome. All right, so the reason I give you all the geriatric assessment form is because when I meet with a patient, I always send those ahead of time and they complete them. We're going to review the holistic assessment next week. We're also going to talk about the authorization for release of information for your local hospital and your RN patient advocacy agreement. But that form is sort of like an overview, and especially as nurses, we need to know what disease processes they're having and maybe, and also what meds they're on. And we can just then look at the whole picture. The rest of the whole picture will be the holistic assessment. Comes in real handy. And also, I always ask for a recent I ask for a recent doctor's note from any doctor in the last year or hospitalization. So it kind of gives you the whole picture of what's happening with the patient, FYI. Okay, so Gary, you would you like the class to reintroduce themselves to you tonight? Would that help you before I
Sure.
introduce you? Okay.
And I would say what state you're from.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Luann, what state are you from?
I'm I'm in California, but I'm in Wyoming quite often. So I go between the two.
Okay,
Right now, I'm in California,
okay.
Awesome.
and my name is Luann.
Awesome. And yeah, that'd be good to say your name.
Right.
Okay, Jennifer.
My name is Jennifer, and I go between the state of Virginia and the state of confusion and overwhelming.
Okay.
That's good. Okay, Lisa Nowicki.
That's funny, Jennifer. I'm from Florida. Yep.
Thank you, Lisa. And Matthew, what about you?
I'm in New Mexico.
Okay.
And Lisa Seeds.
I'm Lisa, obviously, and I am from Virginia for the most part. And just to check back on that geriatric form, oh my Lord. The hospital probably doesn't ask nearly enough questions based on that form.
No. Okay, thank you. And Sonia.
Hi, I'm Sonia and I'm from Oklahoma.
Okay.
And Liz.
Liz from Colorado, currently in New Hampshire, practicing patient advocacy with my dad after a motor vehicle accident and my mom with her memory issues, knocking it out of the park.
Good.
Awesome. Okay, yay. All right, all right. All right, Gary. So I'm going to introduce Gary, and just I'll do a quick overview because we all know he's wonderful because he's been here before. Let's see here. I think Gary's here. Okay. By the way, Gary, I love this page. This is Gary. And I love this picture because he's so smiling and happy all the time. And he's got a great smile. Okay. So Gary is the Blue Ridge College Mission Acceleration Business Accelerator Program Executive Director. So a lot of that will come out as he talks to you again tonight. And it's a comprehensive business innovation program designed to assist for-profits, not-for-profits, and family-owned businesses to take them to the next level of success and sustainability for their business. He's also a adjunct faculty and teaches business classes for local entrepreneurs and the business community through the Blue Ridge Community College Small Business Center. And he's authored 4 workbooks on branding and marketing with his company, Brandor. And I'm going to let Gary talk about his workbook that he sent you a day or so ago. And he spent 11 years as the award-winning Blue Ridge Community College Small Business Director. And he's directed the Blue Ridge Community College Small Business Center, rated #1 for a small business, for small business college training centers. And he's taught over 600 business seminars and assisted over 1,000 startups. Let's say that again. He's helped 1,000 startups growth and scale up companies with management advice, branding, marketing, social media, and capital and business planning. So Gary is quite a person. And so we are delighted to have him come and talk to us tonight. And he's going to talk to us about choosing a business entity, among other things. So I'm giving it over to Gary.
Wonderful, thank you. So let's start big picture first. To start sort of your RN patient advocate business or practice, all of you can do that and all of you can be successful at it. Don't make it complicated. Keep it simple. Your business model is a simpler business model than some other business models. So if you were going to open up a retail kind of business, you would have to have a storefront and you'd have to have all the overhead of a storefront. Whereas with your practice, you can be a home-based business as one option of that, as an example, and you don't have all that overhead. So it makes it easier to start the business. If you want to get an office down the road, you can, but you can start simple, keep it simple, don't have to put a lot of money into it, and just start. The next thing is, with like a retail business, they have to have all this inventory. So they're going to put all this capital into inventory and products and all that type of thing. Your products is between your ears. So you already have all the inventory you basically need. Not to say you can't make it better, but you're at a great starting point right now. The other thing with service businesses, they have to go out and buy all kinds of equipment, tools, all of that type of thing. So the tools you have are, again, between your ears. You have the tools you need, you have the inventory you need. You could be a home-based business to start with, keep it simple, keep your costs down. So you're in a great place to start a successful RN patient advocate business. And just keep it simple, and you can start part-time and you can grow it organically. So that's a great place to be for a business in regards to that. And you're getting some great help to sort of move you down that road. I think when you're looking at a legal entity, to get a legal entity, you need to have a name. Don't agonize over having the perfect name. You don't have to have the perfect name. What's going to bring people to you is your passion for what you do and how you make a difference in people's lives. It's not going to be your name. It's not going to be your tagline. It's not going to be all those things where they have to be perfect. Unfortunately, there's a big need out there in the healthcare industry. Everybody knows it. You're just coming in to be assistants to sort of help them through that system. So a lot of those things are in your favor, as an example. So just keep it simple. As far as a name for your business, you can start with just your own name. You don't have to pick out another name with RN patient advocate in it or anything like that. You can just simply start with your own name, put your, credentials behind you, as an example. A tagline is a short phrase that goes under a company name. So if you use your personal name for your practice, then your tagline could be basically patient advocate. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. Every business needs a good story. You got a great story already. It's basically 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is, what are the issues in the healthcare system right now that people are facing? What are they dealing with? The second paragraph is, how does a patient advocate make a difference in that? And you do make a difference in that. That's the second paragraph. You help them through a lot of different things. You just carry a few of those things out in that paragraph and let them know. And then the third paragraph of your story is just a little bit about you, your background, your credentials, and why you're in this, and the passion you have for helping people and making a difference. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. Your company name could be your name. Your tagline could be RN Patient Advocate, and your story is 3 paragraphs. What's going on in healthcare? How do you make a difference? And a little bit about you. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Also, you're in a business where networking and word of mouth is a powerful thing. So as people get to know what you do, everybody knows somebody that's struggling with something in healthcare. It might be their neighbor, it might be a relative, it might be a friend. So keep it simple, just start, move forward, and then tap into some of the things that you're learning about here. So once you come up with a name, whether it's your name or another name, as an example, and the booklet I sent you gives you lots of different ways to name an organization. There's 9 different ways you can name an organization. It's outlined in there. As you go through that, if you have any questions, just email me and I'll be happy to work you through it, walk you through it, whatever in regards to that. Once you come up with a name, you want to make sure that name is usable. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to USPTO as an example, and in the guidebook, it's on page 68. So USPTO is the United States Patent and Trademark Office. That registers names on a federal level around the whole country. So when you go to USPTO, you just simply go to TESS, which is TESS. That's the search engine. And then you basically put your name in there and click search. What's going to come up is, if there's no records, it's going to say no records. If there's records using some variation of that name, that doesn't mean that you can't use that name. You just have to make sure that that name is available in your category. So when you're looking at trademarks, there's 2 kinds of categories. There's one called goods, products, and there's one called basically service class. So the service class you're going to be in is class number 44, and that's on page 69. So when you go to USPTO and you go to TESS and you put in your name, it's going to come up and say no records, which means you're perfectly clear, or it's going to bring up some names there that other people have registered at the federal level. If it's not the exact name of yours, you're probably good, as an example. And you want to see what class they're in, because if they're in a product class or another service class, it's perfectly fine. So when you do that search, if you have any questions about it at all, just email me and we'll walk through it to make sure that you understand that your name is available on a federal level, that nobody can send you a cease and desist letter and say you can't use that name. So if you're wanting to, as an example, if you look at trademarking, not everybody needs to have a trademark, as an example. If you're looking to sort of have a national business, if you're looking to be the #1 in your industry in the country, or on the East Coast or the West Coast or something like that, trademarking makes more sense, because you're trying to protect yourself, because your market is very big. It's either national, it's the West Coast, it's the Midwest, it's the East Coast, or things like that. The other reason people trademark is, if you ever want to sell your practice, as an example, if it's trademarked, it makes it easier for you to sell your practice, because somebody's not concerned about somebody getting a cease and desist letter after they buy your practice in regards to that. So as a general rule, if you're looking at operating in a local area or a smaller regional area, you don't necessarily need to have a trademark as an example. You can basically do it yourself. Or you can go out to trademarking firms out there like Trademark Express, and they're going to charge you probably around $650 or so. LegalZoom charges about $650 plus the fee for the trademarking process, which is about $125 per category. Or you can go to a trademark attorney, and they're going to probably charge you about $2,000 plus a $125 fee. So you can do it yourself. You can go to like a LegalZoom as an example. You can go to like a Trademark Express as an example, or you can go to a local attorney. But if you're starting locally as an example, I don't necessarily think you need to have a trademark. That's something you might want to think about down the road. You're probably looking at hundreds and hundreds of dollars, as we talked about. And I don't think you necessarily need to put the money into that right now, unless you just have the money and you want to do it. So that's the first thing. You want to make sure your name is available at the federal level, which is USPTO. And in the workbook, that's going to be on page 68 and 69. Once it's clear at the federal level and you're good to go at the federal level, then you want to make sure your name is available at your state level. You know, whether that is California, whether that's Wyoming, whether that's Virginia, whether that's Florida, as an example. You want to make sure your name's available at the state level. That's a very easy process. It is not complicated. All you do to go to Google and you put in your state, you can put in Virginia, you can put in North Carolina, you can put in Florida, you know, Wyoming, New Hampshire, whatever, and you just put down their state name search for a business. And it's going to take you to the state site where they let you search for the name, is it available, as an example. It's free, it's quick, it's easy as an example, and it's going to search all the names of people who have registered with your state, whether it's a for-profit, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's an LLC, whether it's a corporation, whether it's an S Corp. It's going to check all of those in the state that have registered with the state in regards to that. Most states, as a general rule, don't register sole proprietorships. And we're going to get into that here in a couple of moments about what's the difference between a sole proprietorship and an LLC. But you want to make sure your name's available at the state. As an example, just put in the name of your state, name search for business entity, and you can usually put in the Department of Commerce or Secretary of State, and it'll take you right to the site and you can sort of reach it. If you're having trouble going through that state process, just email me and I'll help you walk through it, because you want to make sure your name is available at the federal level. You want to make sure your name is available at the state level. And the reason being is, as an example, if you try to apply your name at the state level and somebody already has it, they're going to reject it. So that's going to happen immediately. If you're applying at the state level and it gets approved, but somebody else is using it on the federal level, what's going to happen at some point in time is you're going to get a cease and desist letter from them. And it's going to say, you cannot use this name anymore. If you continue to use this name anymore, we're going to take you to court, as an example. So the reason you want to check it at the federal level is that does it come your way down the road and you're blindsided by it. So what happens if you don't trademark your name and somebody wants to start trademarking it down the road? What they do, as an example, when somebody applies for a trademark, they go through about a 6-month process. And what they do is they check all 50 states to see, is anybody using that name in all 50 states? They check the internet and they see, is anybody using it on the internet, website, social media, or whatever, as an example. And they also put out an announcement, say somebody is applying for this trademark name for a period of time. That's what they do at the federal level. So some of those things you can do yourself in addition to checking at USPTO. You can put in the name and see if anybody has a website. You can put in the name and see if anybody's using social media for it, as an example. So if you don't trademark your name and you get a website and you get social media, if somebody's trying to trademark it down the road, that's going to become a red flag that USPTO is going to take that into consideration in regards to that. So that way, at least you got a flag in the sand. You've been using it for a year, 2 years, or 3 years. So it becomes a red flag for them to trademark something because somebody is already using it. Again, it's going to go back to the class you're in. You're in class 44, which is basically the service class, as an example. If somebody's applying it for other classes, it's not going to make any difference because you're in class 44 in regards to that. So once your name is good at the federal level, once your name is good at the state level, and you have a name that you're happy with, then you sort of have to pick out what category you want to be in. And on pages 72 through 74, it goes into the different types of legal structures that you can set up within a state, as an example. So the first one there on the list is a sole proprietorship. And a sole proprietorship is basically you as a person are operating a business as a person. So the benefits to that is you can just start today. You don't have to go through the state. You don't have to go through the federal government. You can just start today. You can use your social security number as your identification for your business, as an example, which you already have. My recommendation is you always want to get an EIN number, which is an employee identification number. And that way, if you get an EIN number and that's identified with your business, that reduces your risk for identity theft. Because now you're not using your social security number, you're using a number tied in with the IRS. So if somebody gets that number, that's what they're getting. They're getting a number tied in with the IRS. They're not getting your social security number. So sole proprietorships are easy to start. You could start it today. You don't have to do anything with the federal government. You don't have to do anything initially with the state government. You can use your social security number to start it. You can go back to January 1st of this year if you want to, as an example. But my suggestion is if you do a sole proprietorship, get an EIN number. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. All you have to do is go to Google and type in EIN IRS. Now, what's going to come up in the screen there is a number of organizations that are selling a service to help you with your EIN number, as an example. Somebody that is in 3rd or 4th or 5th grade can register an EIN number based on the paperwork. You don't need somebody to help you. It's just your name, your address. It's basic information like that. So if you go in there, make sure in the name of the domain name for it, it says IRS, EIN, IRS. It's actually the IRS website. It's not one of these companies that want to charge you $50, $100, $150, $250 to help you with your EIN number. You do not need that. You do not want that. Just deal directly with the IRS. It takes probably 10 minutes to do, and it's basic information like your name, your address, your telephone number, business name, what type of entity are you registering, sole proprietorship, LLC, that type of thing, in regards to that.
Hey, Garen,
yes,
are your slides, do you have slides?
I have the document, but it's just words.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, never mind. Keep going.
And they have the document they can go back to.
Okay.
The downside to the sole proprietorship is legality. If somebody litigates against you, they're not just litigating against your business, they're litigating against you personally. So if the person wins the litigation, as an example, whatever that dollar amount is, it's not only going to come out of your business, it's going to come out of you personally. That could be your house, equity in your house. That could be money in a checking account. That could be money in a retirement fund. any personal assets you have are open to being secured. That's the downside to a sole proprietorship, as an example. So when you're going into something, as an example, with your type of field, as an example, it makes sense to protect your personal assets. Now, one way you could do that with a sole proprietorship is you can get liability insurance and pay that fee each month, each quarter, each year. And that liability insurance is there like a firewall, as an example. So that would be one way if you're going to do a sole proprietorship. I would definitely get the liability insurance to sort of go with that. And then at least you have that firewall with the insurance company that has some coverage to sort of protect you in regards to that. Sole proprietorships are good for simple businesses that aren't very complicated. There's not a lot of risk to it, as an example. That's a good business for a sole proprietorship. Anytime you go into a business where there's risk, then you want to have another firewall in addition to liability insurance. And most people that are going to go into one are going to get a limited liability corporation. And the difference between a limited liability corporation and a sole proprietorship is it is a separate legal entity. It is not you personally. You own it, but it's a separate legal entity. So if somebody sues the LLC, they're still suing your business entity, as an example. And I'm not an attorney, but generally what happens is you're mostly out of what is in the business. So if you have $5,000 in the business and you get sued for $10,000, they're not coming after you personally unless you broke the law or something like that. And so you have a choice at that point in time. You could put another $5,000 into the business to cover it, or you could simply close the business, as an example. Instead of doing that, as an example, with the LLC, you are protected. There is a firewall there, but you want to make sure your business has the ability to move forward. So that's where you get the liability insurance that's tied in with also the LLC. And now you have two firewalls. The one firewall is the LLC, which is a separate legal entity, and then the liability insurance in regards to that. And that way you're protecting your personal assets. You can have a business, as an example. You can have peace of mind because you know that there is two firewalls there to sort of protect you and your personal assets, as an example, in regards to that. If you do an LLC, you can't register the business number as a social security number because it is not you. It's a separate legal entity. So you have to go to the IRS and you have to get an EIN number for the LLC, and then they'll provide you an EIN number for you, and that's where how you identify your business, whether you're doing something with the IRS, whether you're doing something with the state that you're in, whether you're opening up a business account and they need your business number, like a checking account, as an example. That's the number you're giving them, is the EIN number. So if you do an LLC, as an example, you have to have an EIN number. And the way you get an EIN number, again, is how? Anybody?
Go to Google
Go to Google.
and put in EIN IRS.
That's it. And then what you do is you go to the domain there that says irs.gov. You click on it and you open it up. It's free, takes about 5-10 minutes, and you get your EIN number and you're done. That's it. My suggestion when you do that at the end is make a copy of the form that you completed and put it into your file. And that way you have a hard copy of everything you gave the IRS. You got it in your file, and just identify the file as EIN number, and you are good to go in regards to that. Now, depending on the state that you're in, there's something other than an LLC. Karen, do you want to talk a little bit about the process you went through for you?
Yes, some states have rigid nursing Board of Nursings. Welcome to North Carolina. So when you own a business in North Carolina, you get your LLC, like Gary said. Then in North Carolina, they want all nurse-owned businesses to go through them, and you submit what's called your articles of organization. That's a big fancy name for what you do in your business. Like, we consult with patients and families for their health care to navigate. So you fill out a one-page form, only the front, says what your business name is, says what you do, then you sign it. I think you have to have it notarized. You send it to the Board of Nursing, and you are going to be looking for a professional limited liability company. So hence the term PLLC. So once you apply to the board, they look at that document. They say, yes, Karen Sanders, you have a PLLC and it's good for 1 year. You have to redo this paperwork every year, usually in December, and it's a big whopping $25 to do it. If you fail to do it and you don't turn in your paperwork, you'll have to do it all over again. But in North Carolina, a nurse-owned business is called, like mine, RN Patient Advocacy, NC, PLLC. So some of you won't have to do it, some of you will.
So we first talked about a sole proprietorship, which is on page 72 of the document I sent you. We talked about a limited liability company, which is on page 72 of the document I talked about with you. So either a LLC or a PLLC is the best way for you to go as a general rule. Now, there's other forms or structures out there you can go. You can go with a corporation, which is basically on page 73. And a corporation is usually set up for bigger entities, and it's set up for people that want to ultimately look at having stock traded on the stock exchange or have investors and people like that. The difference between an LLC and a corporation is a lot more complicated. There's more things you have to jump through to do. So the LLC, the reason that was created is people don't want to have all that extra paperwork and documentation they need to do for a corporation, because they're really not going to be a corporation. They're not going to be a big organization. They're not going to trade on the stock exchange. They're not looking for investors. And that's why an LLC was created, to make it easier for you and I to have a legal entity where we do have that firewall that protects us if somebody tries to litigate against us, as an example. The next one underneath that is basically a partnership. So that's another entity that's out there as an example. A lot of times people that have more than one person in their practice can look at partnerships as an example. That's usually a bigger organization as an example. It's a little bit more complicated than an LLC as an example. So that's also covered on page 73. On 73 is a cooperative. And that's where people get together under the umbrella of a cooperative. The one that most people are familiar with is the company that sells cranberries and cranberry juice and all that stuff, Ocean Spray out of New England. They're a cooperative of farmers, and they all got together to operate under that cooperative umbrella as an example. And then the last one on page 74 is a nonprofit. And that's where you're operating a business, but what you're doing is, instead of taking the profits from the business and increasing your income or things like that, you're having to reinvest those profits back into the nonprofit, which again, in turns reinvests it back into the community for the outreach that you're sort of doing in regards to that. So for a legal entity, the one that I highly suggest you look at is an LLC or a PLLC as an example in regards to that. And they're all covered on that page 72 through basically 74 in the guide that I sent you, whether it is sort of for the USPTO, which is looking at your name on the federal level, it's available. whether it's looking at the state level to see if your name's available, whether it's looking at the different entities that are out there as an example. If you have any questions, just simply email me. I'll be happy to walk you through the process, no matter what state you're in. States vary a little bit generally, but I'll be happy to look at your state and then talk with you about your state in regards to that then. So that's sort of the legal entity sort of process. So once you decide, I want an LLC as an example, or whatever entity you want, you basically have a couple different ways you can set that up. You can download the forms from the state and complete them yourself. Most states, it's like 2 or 3 pages. It's like name, address, telephone number, agent. Other than one question, a 3rd, 4th, or 5th grader can fill it out and complete it. It is not complicated. And all you do is you put a check with it. And most states, you're talking about $125 to $150. And you fill the application and you turn it in, and you are good to go. If they accept it, you know they're going to accept it because you've already checked your name that nobody else is using it in the state. So you are good to go. It's an easy, simple process. You're talking about $125 to $150, depending on your state, to set up your business. So that's their first option. If you do the option yourself, Karen mentioned about an operating agreement. So if you go with the second option or the third option that I'm going to talk about, the second option is somebody out there with an organization called LegalZoom. There's a number of them out there. And then the third option is working with a local attorney. So if you go to like a LegalZoom, or if you go to a local attorney, part of the packet they're going to give you is an operating agreement. Other than the PLLC, as an example, the state doesn't require it. You don't have to send it in, as an example. So it's not a required thing you have to do. So if you do it yourself, what I would do is I would go to Google and type in operating agreement for North Carolina, operating agreement for Florida, operating agreement for Virginia, operating agreement for Colorado, and it's going to pull you up a template, and you fill it in just like the attorney fills it in. Name, address, telephone number, what type of work you're doing. It's a template. And then you download it, you fill it, and then you put it into the file for, if you call it LLC, you've got your paperwork for the state there, and you put your operating agreement paperwork in there as an example, and you can totally do it yourself. That's option one. It's going to run you about $125 to $150 filing fee, and you're done. You can go out to a LegalZoom as an example. And what's the difference between LegalZoom and a local attorney, other than LegalZoom isn't in your hometown with an office? They're a nationwide company, as an example, versus your attorney is like in your local town. So what happened was, when people go to attorneys, the fees can be pretty high. And so what happened was, there was some people out there that sort of said, how can we bring down the cost of attorney fees? And they came up with a platform, and one of them out there is called LegalZoom. And if you go to a local attorney, your local attorney doesn't do all the paperwork. They have basically a legal assistant, a paralegal assistant, and he or she basically gets the forms, fills in the information, turns it back to the attorney checks it, as an example. So what LegalZoom did, or some of these other companies did, is they just had lots and lots and lots of legal assistants. And then they have attorneys that all they do is review the paperwork all day long. So it brought down the cost because they could process a lot more LLCs in a day because of that platform. So it's being done by a legal assistant, paralegal. An attorney is checking it. And so if you go to a LegalZoom or something like that, you might be paying something, as an example, anywhere $99 plus the filing fee, as an example. So it brings down the cost of doing it. And how it works is, LegalZoom has an office in each state in the United States where they have a number of attorneys, and they process it at the state level. Even though LegalZoom is a national organization, they process it at the state level. You pay them the fee, you give them the information, they turn it into the state, you get the paperwork back in regards to that. That was the second option. The third option is you go to a local attorney and you basically have them form the LLC as an example, and you pay them the fee. So depending on your market, as an example, an attorney might charge $450. I've seen as high as $2,000 to do an LLC. So your first option is do it yourself. Your second option is go out to a service like LegalZoom as an example, or the third option is to go with a local attorney. My suggestion is look at all three. Look at what they're charging. Look at what your comfort level is and what you feel comfortable with, whether it's doing it yourself, going with a LegalZoom as an example, or using a local attorney. Unless you know a local attorney that's a friend, you're going to be paying a fee for that. All three of them, you have to pay the state fee in regards to that then. So if you do it yourself, do your own operating agreement. If you go with a LegalZoom, or if you go with a local attorney, that document is going to be in your packet that you get. Again, it's not required by the state that you're in. It's just something that you keep on your own file, just so you're following sort of best practices in regards to that. Any questions about filing for an LLC? The same process would be true for a corporation. The same process would be true for a partnership. The same process would be true for a nonprofit or a cooperative, as an example, in regards to that. Any questions on filing for one?
So Gary, I'd be glad to go get mine out of my drawer and give you all the words that you could use to give it. So, or I could send you all the copies in email if that would make things easier. Just saying, you can copy what I have, the articles of organization. It sounds so complicated, but it's really just one or two sentences about your job.
Yep. It's a template. I mean, you're filling in the blanks. That's what you're doing. You're not creating a legal document from scratch. You're just filling in the blanks. Now, when you register your name with the state, as an example, whether it's an LLC or any other legal entity, you're going to have to complete an annual report each year, and you're going to have to pay a fee each year to renew it. And the annual report it's simple. I mean, they're not asking you how much money you made. They're not asking you how much taxes you paid. It's just filling out a simple document that says you're still alive, you're still operating, you're still moving forward. Thank you and pay your fee. That's it. So it's not rocket science or anything like that at all. Every states are pretty much similar. You're just paying an annual fee, and they're just wanting another $125 or $150 a year. That's what they want. Any questions on that? So this stuff is not rocket science. This stuff is not hard. This stuff is not difficult. It's just check the boxes and fill things out in regards to that. If you're looking for your name for USPTO, go to tests. If you have any questions about that, just simply email me. I will walk you through the process. Same thing with registering your business with the state. If you have any questions about that, just email me as an example. Anything like that, it's outlined there in the workbook for you. But you have my email. You can email me anytime you want with any questions. And then the workbook has lots of different information in there. It looks like it's a whole lot of stuff. Just keep it simple. You don't have to use everything in that workbook to get started. You can have your name as your business. You can have your tagline is RN patient advocate. You can have a story. It's 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is, what are the challenges that patients are facing today? The second paragraph is, how do you make a difference and help them with that? The third paragraph is just a little bit about your credentials and your passion for making a difference and helping people. Don't make it hard. Don't make it simple, in regards to that. And then what you want to do is just grow it organically. Don't try to force it. And the best way to grow it is just networking, connecting with people you know. Unfortunately, everybody knows somebody that's having some challenges with healthcare. And after a while, people get to know what you do and how you make a difference. And there's a need for all of you in every community that you're in. Anything else you would like me to cover on that topic for legal, Karen?
I think your booklet is wonderful. I mean, your manual is great, super duper help aid. I'd advise everybody to just print it off and read it. It's pretty simple and explanatory. And the other thing is, if you want to do a Zoom with me, I can help you. You could do a Zoom with Gary. He can help you just even to get your EIN number. It's
Right.
pretty simple, but the first time you do it, it's a little scary. Just a little scary, that's all.
So all of you can be successful at this. There's a need out there. Start off simple, grow it organically. You can start part-time. You don't have to start full-time, as an example. Um, I would say the other thing is get yourself a good business card. I would do a 2-sided business card. I wouldn't do a 1-sided business card. There's 3 kinds of pricing out there. There's pricing below market, there's pricing at market, there's pricing above market. You're in the at market pricing structure. So you have to give people a reason why they should do business with you, and that's value. So the below market pricing is cheap. We're cheap. We're the cheapest in town. You're not in that category. You don't want to be in that category. You're at the at market category, which means you're delivering more value. So on your business card, as an example, the front part of your business card is your name, your company name, your contact information, a logo, as an example. On the back side of your card, you put your value proposition. Put there the types of things, how you can make a difference in people's lives. And just do it bullet points. Here's 6 ways we can help you with healthcare. And then have a call to action. Call today for more information. And 2-sided business card is going to run you about 15, 20% more. So for most of you, that's going to be $15, $20, $30 more for a 2-sided business card versus a 1-sided business card. It'll be the best investment you've ever made, because all you have to do is get 1 client and you've more than paid for it. So go with a 2-sided business card versus a 1-sided business card, as an example, and keep it simple, keep it clean. And remember today that people don't like to read a lot. So the more you can do is make it scannable, and that's where you can have bullet points on the back in regards to that. The other thing I would suggest that you take a look at is on YouTube, there's a video called Smart Brevity. So YouTube, Smart Brevity. Smart Brevity is 15 minutes long. It goes into how people consume information today. And so part of your business is sharing information with people, whether it's marketing or whether it's just feedback and suggestions and tips and advice. Highly suggest you watch that video on Smart Brevity. What they've done is they've shown you how people now consume information, whether they're listening to you, whether they're looking at print, as an example. It was founded by the people that started Axios out of Washington, D.C., where they were boiling things down to where people could read it, as an example. Highly suggest you watch Smart Brevity. It's entertaining, but you walk away with a little bit better way on how to communicate, both in verbal and also in writing in regards to that. It'll also help you with your website. It'll also help you with your social media, because there's no sense in you putting information out if people don't read it. Anything else tonight that would be helpful, Karen?
I think that's pretty good. What about everybody? Does anybody have any questions? At all about anything?
I just wanted to say thanks about the business card. I was just thinking about that today, about how it would be good to list what we actually do as patient care advocates. So that I'll do that on the second side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a logo, there's logo templates out there you can use online. There's a company out there called Fiverr, Fiverr. So Fiverr. Everything started at $5 in the beginning. You can get a great logo for under $100. It might be $60, it might be $75, it might be $55 or whatever. What you want to do is you want to get a feel for the look that you like. Do you want something very traditional? Do you want something very trendy? What are you sort of looking for? If you go to Fiverr, you look for a graphic artist that does that look. And you find a couple of them. And then what you do is you look at how many logos they've done and you look at their reviews, which is stars, and it's up to 5. So you find the look. As an example, you basically look at the number of stars they have, the number of reviews they have, and then you sort of pick out one. So I was helping somebody yesterday. They found one on there for $60. Great look. They have it back to you in 10 days. You get 3 revisions as an example for it. So if you're looking for somebody to help you with a graphic artist and you don't have somebody locally, or you don't want to use a template, check out Fiverr, Fiverr, but make sure you go through that process and you're going to find something you like. You just don't want to go in there and pick somebody out without a plan.
I do have a question about the template. So if we go to the logo template, so we can just pick anything. It's not like trademarked, or do we have to worry about that?
Usually, most people do not trademark logos. They trademark their name. Because what happens is you can trademark your name, your tagline, and your logo, all 3 together. So name is name, tagline is the phrase that goes under your name, and the logo is the visual image you're tied in with your name and your tagline. If you do all 3, if you change any of those, you have to go back through the trademark process from scratch. So what most people do is they trademark only their name, unless you're a big corporation like Coca-Cola or Delta Airlines or Apple or whatever, where, for you to go through a trademark process, for them, it's nothing. It's like toilet paper. It's nothing. So once you come up with a logo, as an example, you're probably going to be okay as far as a trademark. And unless you pick out something that is very, I'm going to say, generic, where you're picking out an image that lots of people are using, then it might be an issue. But what you can do is you can go through the trademark process and see if anybody's using that image. But if you're doing something like, as an example, and with logos, you can do it yourself. You can go to a graphic artist. You can go to Fiverr, as an example. There's also programs out there, where it's like Logo Works, and they'll do a logo for you. If you're going to some of these companies, you can get a custom one, or sometimes they have ones that they license for more than one company to use if you're not in the same category. But as a general rule, you don't have to worry about trademarking your logo. And as a general rule, you don't have to do a lot of research unless you just pick out something that's so generic that you think lots of people are going to use.
Any other questions for Gary tonight? So you all have the email. Yes, go ahead, Lisa.
So Jennifer, my love, did a logo for us, and I kind of like it. But I'm just my concern is if someone sees it, is it going to sparkle enough for us to get their interest? So here it is.
Gotta be real
Um,
close. Be close, Lisa. Come closer. You're getting better. Just can't see it too. Oh,
oh, there it is. Good job, Jen.
okay.
I love it. I mean, like I said, it's just kind of plain. So I wondered if we needed to add something to it.
Today, there is a real trend to keeping logos simple, clean, uncomplicated.
Okay.
Because it pops more with people versus something that is more complex or things like that. So if it's simple and clean, you got something that's probably going to work for you. And remember,
Okay.
you don't have to have a perfect name. You don't have to have a perfect logo. You don't have to have a perfect tagline. You just want ones that all sort of fit together. And that's what becomes powerful is they just sort of fit together and they stick. You don't need to have perfection because what's going to make your business successful is not your logo, not your tagline. It's going to be you. It's your
Okay.
passion. It's going to be connecting with people. And you got a good story. And you already got a good story because people know there's issues out there they need help with. And our inpatient advocates can make a difference in their life. And you're the person that can help them because you got years of experience and you got a passion for this and you make a difference in people's lives. That's what's going to make your business successful. Don't get caught up in perfection. You don't need it. You just need something good.
So is just the name enough, or should we add a telephone number? Or I specifically love the colors.
Well,
Yes.
if you're going to put the logo on a business card, yes, you're going to want to have some contact information and you're going to want to have a phone number and you're going to want to have an email because some people don't like to call and some people would rather email. And sometimes it's their personality and sometimes it's the time of the day.
Okay. So phone and email.
Yes, and that's not your logo, that's just contact information. The logo is usually just the image, period. And then you have a name, and then you have a tagline, and then you have like your contact information, which could be website, social media, telephone number, email type of thing.
Yep, that looks good, Jennifer.
So I think when my husband and I designed this, we were leaving enough space at the bottom for fax number or phone number
Mhm.
and email address. And then obviously, as you were saying tonight, Gary, on the other side, a second side of the card would be our catchphrase.
Yep.
Or logo. And I mentioned before class that I joined the American Holistic Nurses Association the other day, and it asked me if we wanted to be recognized and put into their I guess their list of all members and what our business name is and all this kind of stuff. And I just kind of flew off the handle and did some stuff. And then I kind of sent it to Lisa afterwards, but she liked it. We were good.
Good. So we're at the end of the time for Gary. So Gary, will you put your email in the chat and then any last minute questions? We're going to go to break. So we want to say thank you, Gary. Excellent. Yoo-hoo. Yay. Yay, yay. And thank you very much. And we'll be seeing you again, I think, one more time before class is over.
Okay. And you also have my email in the document that I sent you. So all you have to do is reference that email and we're good to go.
All right. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. So it's 8:12. We're going to come back at 8:17 and Jan will start her part. Okay. Thanks, Gary.
You bet. Take care.
Okay. We'll see you all in 5 minutes. Okay. See you in a minute. Okay, Jan.
I'll introduce myself. I can do it shorter. you are very comprehensive in your introductions, and so I'm
Okay.
gonna do it a little bit shorter.
Okay.
I've met most, if not all of you before when I was here a couple of months ago, focusing in on resume and bio. And the reason why somebody who's starting their own business might want to have a resume isn't because they're going to apply for a position, but it's because they need a bio. And the easiest way to develop a bio is to develop a resume first. One of my signatures on doing a resume is to understand what is it you want to be doing. And that's where WOW criteria it comes in. WOW criteria tells us what it is that we want all on one page. It collects all of our thoughts and it gets them down so that we can get some traction off of them. So that by way of introduction, who am I? I have been a patient advocate, thanks to Karen, teaching me how to be a patient advocate for my then 100-year-old mom who had dementia, but otherwise was very healthy. And that really was very, very useful in the skilled nursing facility that she was in and throughout her healthcare team. I've had a variety of careers, from hospitality to finance to transformation consulting, executive search. And for the past 13 years or so, I've been doing career transition. So you can see I've done a fair amount of career transition myself. I'm in a good position to help others. I am passionate about sharing resources, collaborating and innovating, building community online, and fiber arts. My favorite word is both. And so whenever I'm offered an option, I'm often heard to say, I want both. Here's what we're going to cover. I thought I would start out with just a few minutes on what we learned the last time about resumes and bios. Tell me about yourself, how people brand themselves as a foundation, just as a reminder of what we've already talked about. Then we're going to focus in on WOW criteria. WOW criteria will not be nearly as impactful for you if I'm doing the WOW criteria. I will facilitate doing WOW criteria for a couple of students in the class here. So be thinking about if you would be willing to just spend about 5 minutes helping me identify and get down what it is that is your criteria for clients or your criteria for where you work. We'll do one of each. And then whatever we do, I'll have the beginning of a draft for you, and I will send you the draft. Those who don't volunteer, I still will send you a template. I will send you a PDF of these PowerPoint notes, but you'll be starting from ground zero as opposed to starting from my having facilitated you moving on. Want to get your insights from what we learned today, and I have some suggestions as to what you might do next with this. So that's my agenda here. So just as a reminder, the purpose of a resume or of a bio to get your foot in the door, it's a marketing tool. And so you'll need a bio, if not a website, and probably a flyer as to what the services are that you are offering. What makes the difference between a good resume and a great resume? And the evidence that we have for a great resume is the people that you are reaching out to. Take one look at your resume and they pick up the phone. Judy, we need to talk. Jen, we need to talk. So I would say the same thing about whatever materials you're using to market yourself for your own entrepreneurial venture. Whether that's a website, whether that's a brochure, and you'll want to include some element of a bio on that, whether it's a full page or whether it's a paragraph. So what makes the difference between a good marketing document and a great one is the one which clearly is demonstrating you produce results. So I've helped, 100 clients, 100 patients in the last 3 years, or I've the impact that you have. I assisted family who was concerned about a family member. Just think about all the elements. If you can quantify that, it really can have you stand out above and beyond somebody else. One of the things that we did in the resume is that top third has lots of white space. So your marketing document, you'll want to have lots of white space. And here's an example: outcomes-based, safe and quality nursing care, developing trust and relationships, featuring those qualities that you bring can make the difference with somebody who doesn't. So again, I'm just going to quickly go through the things that we covered before. So bio best practice is to take a look at what other people have done and what impresses you, and see if you can incorporate some of those elements to be impressive to others. We talked about what's the anatomy of a bio. Here's a one-pager as to having your headline. You might have that tagline that Gary was talking about. You might have that right up there. Labeling yourself, telling your story, highlighting your achievements. You can even include something personal, and then be sure that you include your contact information. A photo is appropriate in a bio, not in a resume. We talked about, so tell me about yourself. So when you are prospecting for clients, when you are following up on a referral to a prospective client, they're going to say, so tell me about yourself. So we recommend 4 sequential elements to that. I am an RN patient advocate. Just label yourself right up front. What is your relevant experience? What are your strengths and your skills? And while most people end the answer there, we recommend going into, so here's why I'm excited to talk to you now. I specialize in geriatric patients. And so I'm really interested in hearing more about what I might do for you and for your mom. Take it beyond just about yourself and what your interest is with them, and then engage your prospect. So what have you tried so far? What issues are you encountering? And so as you learn more about them, then it makes it easy for you to talk about what you can do for them. It doesn't feel like you're up on a pedestal, you're on a platform bragging about yourself at all. It feels like you're helping, and that's what you do. So you need to know, how do they need help? Things that we had talked about before. Finding out what other people, other patient advocates have said. You can go on to LinkedIn profiles and you can see how they've branded themselves. We talked about how there's 26,000 results for patient advocate. Narrowing it down to RN patient advocate will narrow it down to just the United States. So that's a great way to see what other people are doing. Here's some of the insights that you all shared, your class and the class before, that, how to distinguish your resume. And by the way, your resume can be copied and pasted into your LinkedIn profile. And a lot of people go right to the LinkedIn profile whenever they hear about somebody whose services they might want to use, to see what is their history, what has been their resume, what have others recommended about them, because you can get that right on your LinkedIn. So marketing yourself, it's not about bragging, it's just about informing. Consider, in today's world of video clips, creating a 1 or 2 minute video clip and attaching it right onto your LinkedIn or to a website if you're using a website. Other insights, you don't have to say everything that you've done. You just focus in on what it is that they need, what they need to hear. You're creating a brand for yourself. Using the STAR technique to tell a story briefly. A story is very memorable. People love to hear stories. If you've got 4 stories of 5 minutes each, there's 20 minutes. And maybe you needed to cover some other things in a half-hour initial consultation or talking with somebody. So you can tell a story in just 1 minute through the STAR technique. What was the situation? Here's the action I took. And as a result, here's what we did. Would you like to hear more? It's a great way to tell a story in a minute. If they want to hear more about it, they'll let you know. Otherwise, you can tell them more stories and be listening some more. So that I just wanted to recap a little bit what we had talked about before. Now we're going to get into WOW criteria. WOW criteria is a simple one-page tool that enables you to get your thoughts down on a one-page piece of paper or on the screen. And that's the purpose. The purpose of WOW criteria is to keep you in the driver's seat. So instead of just reacting, gee, there's a job posting, or gee, somebody has referred you to help out their mom or themselves, so that instead of just gee, they're an hour away, I don't really want that, but I need the work, or gee, they are in hospice and I really just don't feel comfortable with hospice, or whatever element it is. Maybe it's a child and you prefer the elderly, so whatever it is, you want to avoid compromising yourself to the point that you just don't like working that job, that gig. So we want to have you take a good hard look at what is it you do want, and you market yourself to that. And under what circumstances do you turn down business? So we'll be talking about that. What we do is take a look at what are the factors you want to be considering. So what is the role? What's the impact might be important to you? Location certainly could be important. What are the hours? What's the pay rate? What's the chemistry? So we're going to think about all the factors that matter to you. Not everybody is the same, so some factors might be more important to some people than other people. On each one of those factors, we're going to look at a 10-point continuum of your level of satisfaction. We're going to look at what fully meets your requirements without compromise. So, I want all of my clients to be within half an hour. And then I'm going to say, well, what could be even better than that? What would be cool? Oh, well, if it was within 15 minutes, that'd be really cool. And then we look at, well, what would walk on water? WOW is an acronym for walks on water. So walks on water doesn't exist. So we don't put down anything in the walks on water column, the WOW column, that does exist. And so that might be, I don't have to commute at all. It's in my backyard. All my patients are in my backyard. That doesn't exist. That would be a WOW. And then we look at, well, what's the deal killer? And we know something is a deal killer when you could have an opportunity that walks on water in every category, but there's this one deal killer. The deal killer is this prospect lives in Alaska. I'm sorry, I don't care how terrific the job is. I am not commuting to Alaska to help this prospect. So, and maybe it's just simply, it's an hour away. Maybe that's the deal killer for you. Or it would require relocation or whatever. So all of this, we're just talking about the factor of location. So the gray zone is, what would you be willing to tolerate? So, okay, I could tolerate 45 minutes, particularly if I could get multiple clients within that 45 minutes. So that would be an example of gray zone. This is kind of the construct for it. Now we're going to take a look at physically, what does that page look like? And so I see Karen moving up closer, so I hope that this is large enough for you to see. Let me do that. Okay, great. Thanks, Karen. So here we have each one of those factors. What are your responsibility? What sector of healthcare are you in? What's the culture? What's the compensation, the benefits, the hours? Those are the factors. In this case, it's for job search. We're also going to look at this for clients criteria. And so then these are the 10 points, anywhere from 0 to 10, where 5 fully meets requirements without compromise. I always start in this column, then I move left over from to cool, and then ultimately WOW, and then I come over and identify what's the deal killer. So here is an example. Here's an example. And so maybe somebody has, they want to work within 50 miles of Asheville. I'm in Western North Carolina. And then what would be even better than that is if they were near a particular town that they're in, and maybe for them, their wow job would be working virtually. They will not relocate. They won't go over 250 miles, but they would go within 250 miles. That's a pretty generous, widespread location. So that's an example of it. So another one might be, what is the durability of the relationship? Is it whether it's a client or whether it's an employer? Is it continuing? I'm going to be there for a while. Is it committed? Are you exclusive? Do you get lots of referrals? That would be terrific. Or is it a bait and switch? You've got a prospective client who spends hour after hour after hour interviewing you, asking questions, but never accepts the commitment to engage you. And you just feel like you're wasting a lot of time, and then they end up going, not using anybody, and they've just been using you to try to learn what they can do for themselves. What would be tolerable for a client is a one-fer. I don't get any referrals out of this person, from this person. I'm with them for just, say, a 3-hour period of time, and then they don't recur. So that's not ideal. I'd rather have somebody who wants me to come back in once a month, be supportive of them. I'm on call. That would be my preference, but I'd be willing to do just this one-fer. So let's see if I have. That ended up being. Okay, so I interviewed Karen, and I asked Karen, what are your wow criteria for your clients? And so, chemistry, she wants to work with people who want help. They're grounded, they're conscious, and it'd be even better if they have an awareness of what they need. But not everybody does. It might have to be teased out. And wow, wouldn't it be great if her client actually gave her energy? See how that's a wow? You can't expect that, but it would really be wonderful. Karen's deal killer was, it drains my energy. They don't listen. They reject great referrals. They don't respond. So, that's, she'll pass on those clients. And now that she's got this clarity, she is more grounded in being able to vet a prospect and to say, yes, I want you as my client, or, I'm probably not the best person for you, and gently turn away the business. So let me open it up to questions before I go into actually doing a wow criteria, one for a job, one for client criteria with volunteers. Does anybody have any questions? I can't believe you all got it so quickly. I'm good at explaining, but I'm sure you all have some questions.
Yeah.
Yes, Jennifer.
Are we going to have access to your PowerPoint?
I will create a PDF of
Yeah.
my PowerPoint. I will email that to all of you, and I also will include blank forms. So let me stop sharing here and go over, and where's the share button? There it is. And share. Where is it? So here is a blank template for a job search. And then I also have a blank template for client criteria. And so I will send both of those blank templates to you. They're simply Word documents. It's easy to say, here's a factor that doesn't matter so much to me. And here's a factor that's missing that I want to add. So these are the factors. These are the criteria that we're going to put in here. And what you're going to do after you've got this filled out is you're going to be able to concisely say, here's what I'm looking for. So when you are prospecting, when you're marketing yourself, you know that you can say, here's the kinds of things I do. Here's, if there's any sector of healthcare or demographics or location, I do it in this county, I do it in this region. So you can be described, this will inform you as to what you want to say in marketing yourself. And in networking as you're talking to people that you know and seeking leads. The next thing this does is it helps you assess the individual. So here is prospective, what is a job search? So let's say you were talking about one healthcare system, and then maybe this might be, a partnership. And so you want to assess working either for this healthcare system or for this partnership. And so what you'll do is you'll say, boy, this partnership job is exactly what I'm looking for. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it an 8. The healthcare system, well, it's not really what I want to do, but it only gets grades and it only gets a 3. But the money is really good with that healthcare system, whereas the money is kind of iffy, particularly in the beginning with the partnership. The culture for the healthcare system, maybe that's not all that you're looking for, whereas the culture with a partnership looks really great. So you're going to assess for each of the opportunities that you're looking at, or each of the prospects, you're going to assess how well do they score against your criteria. Oh, I forgot to mention my analogy for WOW criteria. The analogy for WOW criteria is buying a pair of shoes. If you needed a pair of shoes, when you go into the shoe store, you already know, is it for work? Is it for hiking? Is it for basketball? What are these shoes for? You might have a brand in mind. You certainly know what your size is, material, color, size heel, any of those things, And so when you go into the shoe store, if they have exactly what you're looking for, that's a no-brainer. You'll get them and you'll move on about your day. If they don't have what you're looking for, you're not about to buy a pair of shoes that don't fit. The shoes have to fit. So same thing with the job. We want you to get the job that fits and not to be seduced into something that looks really great over here, but ends up being an intolerable commute or an intolerable personal impact. So that's why we have you think about what are your levels of satisfaction, 0 to 10, on each one of these factors. Sometimes you don't know what the, let's see, maybe you don't know how financially solid is a company. And so you've got a question mark there. Well, now you know what you need to find out. You're not just going to go in blind saying, well, I don't know, so that doesn't matter. No, it might matter if it's a deal killer. If you're talking to a prospect that has 2 or 3 deal killers, kill the deal. Don't waste your time. If they've got 1 deal killer, well, now you know what you need to negotiate on. So maybe they're in the next county and that's an hour away. And that's an hour away as a deal killer for you. Well, if that's the only deal killer, otherwise they look really strong. So maybe you can say, look, the first time we meet, we're going to meet face to face. But hereafter, we're going to meet virtually. I've got Zoom and I'll come out once a month, or I'll travel to that county once a month. We can see each other face to face then. But otherwise, are you okay with handling it virtually? And you can help set them up if that's what they need. So you throw out the opportunity if it's 2 or 3 deal killers. If it's only 1 deal killer, you don't accept it, but you know what you need to negotiate. Do I have a volunteer who is willing to just walk through 1 or 2 factors for if you were going to look for a job? What, how would you fill this out? I don't think I have Karen's on this one. I don't think I do. but I am reminded, there was one other thing I wanted to say. I got an email about a week or two ago from somebody through Karen's RN patient advocacy program. So she emailed me and she said, Jan, I have to so thank you for working on the resume with me. And I said, why? What happened? She said, I interviewed for a job. They had already filled it, but they were so impressed with what I've done that they said, we're going to open up another job because we want you to work for us. So I wanted to mention that to you all. I'm happy anybody who hasn't developed their resume and they might be applying for a position anywhere, I'm happy to work with you. And of course, that's no charge for Karen's. Yes, Jennifer.
So I told the class the other week that I sent out some applications, and one of the applications that I sent out was to the VA here
good.
in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah.
And the VA wants like a 14, 15, or 16 page resume of absolutely everything that you've done. Like I work in the operating room, so I listed every surgical procedure I think I've ever done or been close to, being in on. And it took me 2 days to do that. And it was so mentally draining and hard. I never want to have to do that again.
I'm impressed that you got it done in 2 days. That really, really. So what I like to do is I like to create a master resume that has everything on it. You've just created a master resume. Most employers want a 2-page resume. So we then cut back anything that's more than 10 or 15 years old because we don't want to expose ourselves to age discrimination. And then we also cut back anything that, even though you're proud of it, if it's not relevant to the job you want, then it's just going to bury the good stuff. And when we don't want to bury the good stuff, we want the good stuff to be seen. The first time a recruiter looks at, or a hiring manager looks at a resume, they typically spend only 6 to 8 seconds. So it's paramount for us that we don't let the good stuff get buried. We edit that out.
Well, the unfortunate thing is I did do a 2-page resume for Karen, cover your ears. Karen, for the HCA facilities. And I had conversations with them and they're like, well, these are all the positions we have here in Richmond. And they talked about like 10 different positions, that I was qualified for. And we're starting to set up an appointment to go talk to somebody. And she's like, well, we should probably talk about money. And she spit out something and I'm like, well, we just need to end this conversation right now because that's not going to happen.
Right. It was too low. Yeah.
Yeah, it was $6 less an hour than what I make now as my base. So
here's how you respond when the money is way low, is you respond with saying, how is that working for you? Are you getting the quality of candidate you're looking for? And when they say, well, no, actually not, you say, well, you may not be up at market. So
yeah, well, there's somebody else who has gone behind that recruiter's back who is continuously contacting me about, I understand that the financial situation wasn't appropriate for your requirements, let's have a conversation. And I have not considered that at this point, but yeah.
So down here under compensation on this criteria, so you might say, X dollars a year or X dollars an hour is what my fully meets requirements is. What would be better than that? What walks on water? What's the deal killer? And, be generous with that in terms of what your gray zone is, because if they are providing extraordinary benefits, a signing bonus, extraordinary vacation, other things, it just might make up the difference. But don't be hesitant at all to say, to go into fact-finding mode. And so that means that you don't accept an offer without first saying, I want to make sure that I understand everything. So whether that's bonuses and this and that and this and that, and then you come back with a counter proposal.
Yeah, well, and fortunately, as Gary mentioned in the last part of this session, you know, we can do this patient advocate business part-time to start
Right.
with. So
Right.
my partner Lisa Seeds and I, you know, I work weekend night shift right now, so it is very, very possible. Looking at the VA, if I could get in there part-time, I can still do the patient advocate part-time. And that opens up my resources, you know, to be able to tap into. So,
so that's where I would add as a factor that a position that fully meets requirements affords me the ability to also develop my practice.
mhm.
And then cool might be, you know, something even better than that. Wow might be my employer encourages me to develop my practice, and is referring clients to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and I was excited yesterday. My husband has been awarded 100% disability through the military. So he keeps looking into things that I may be eligible for, and tuition reimbursement is a big thing. I'm not sure if this class, you know, if I can go back, and not that this class was, you know, a financial burden, but I may be able to get paid back for this.
Yeah, it's certainly worth asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah, no, so I would encourage that with any offer negotiation is don't be afraid to make some suggestions. Just don't make such a big deal about it that you might be losing out for it. Just inquire. The phrase I love is, I'm curious if there's flexibility in the offer.
mhm.
And they may say yes, and they may say no. I do want to walk through completing a WOW not completing one or two factors of a WOW criteria. If not for job search, then I'll do it for client. So please, somebody raise your hand, volunteer, and let me know if you want to do job search or client profile. Okay, I see a hand raised. Is that Lisa? Okay, great. Are you muted?
I'm not now.
Okay, perfect. Would you rather, I so appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
Would you prefer doing a job search, a couple of rows, or a client?
Client.
Okay, so I'm going to, I don't know if new share lets me go right into client. Share. Does that work? Can you see WOW criteria for patient advocate clients?
Yes.
Great. So here are some suggested factors. What are your responsibilities? What sector of healthcare is it in? What are some of the characteristics of your clients? What's the chemistry? What's the impact you have? What is the impact on recurring business for you? What do you get paid? What kind of hours and travel are you putting in? What's the location of your clients? And any other factors you might want to add. Is there a factor that, for example, location, would that make sense to start with?
Sure.
Okay. So what is the location of where your clients are that fully meet your requirements without compromise?
Chesterfield.
Great. And what would be even better than that?
Well, well, for location, can you do virtual?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And
Then,
so if
maybe under fully meets, maybe Richmond, cool would be Chesterfield, 10 would be virtual.
is virtual a possibility?
Yes.
Then we can't put it in the WOW column. We only
Okay.
put things that walk on water that don't exist in the WOW column.
All right,
Having
then
said that,
Chesterfield's probably my wow.
does Chesterfield exist?
Yes.
We can't put it in WOW.
So
So fully meets requirements without compromise is a big deal. It's really good.
Okay.
There's no compromise at all. And then having established what that is, then is there something that could be even better? And that might be like North Chesterfield or West Chesterfield, something closer to you.
I got it. I got it. Then Bon Air.
Okay. Did I spell that right?
No E on the end.
Okay, great. So Bonnier would be even better than just saying Chesterfield. And can you imagine anything that it walks on water? So for example, is there a beach in Chesterfield?
No, but there
Now you get
there
the,
are let's say St. Edward's church, because that's a block or two from my house.
cool, cool. And there probably aren't patients there.
Oh yeah, for
Right,
sure.
right. So that's exactly what WOW would be.
Okay.
What is the location that is so intolerable where you would have to go to meet your clients that you could have an opportunity that virtually walks on water in every other category, but it's in this location?
North Richmond.
Okay. And what would you be, it's not as close as Chesterfield, what would you be willing to compromise on for location?
Central Richmond.
Right. This is an example of this is all up in your head. We're getting it down on paper. Which other factor would you like to take on? Responsibilities or client characteristics?
Let's do some client characteristics.
Great. What would be some descriptors of a client you'd be perfectly happy to work with?
I like a geriatric population, preferably somewhere in the 50 to 75 range.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to put that here under the demographics.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking more, what is their need or what is their personality? How are they to work with?
As far as characteristics are concerned, somebody that may or may not have basic understanding of their health care.
Right. Does it matter if they can learn from you?
It does. Teachable. So
So if,
teachable.
right. So they are teachable and may or may not.
Okay.
What if they are not teachable? Are you willing to work with them or not?
I would be able to work with them if they had a someone with them to help them.
So they're not teachable and they are accompanied.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of reading between the lines here. If they are not teachable and not accompanied, then somebody else is better off working with them than you. You're going to decline that opportunity.
I believe I would,
Yeah.
because I don't think I would be able to get from them what I need in order to help them.
Right.
Right.
Right. So, and help them, can't help them
Yeah.
is a deal killer for you.
Yeah.
And by jotting down what's in your head right now about this, it's going to help you filter in, it's going to help you filter out and not get stuck with a client that you're just dreading the hour that you have to spend with them. What would be even better than teachable and they may or may not understand their healthcare?
Some understanding of their health care and their disease processes.
Right. What would walk on water for you?
If they understood all about their health care and hospitalization.
And I'm going to add an and.
Okay.
Appreciative of you.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. So, and then in the interest of time, I wish I could do another couple of rows, but if you or anybody else in class would like me to facilitate one-on-one beyond today's class, I'll be happy to do this. But I think you have a sense for how to do it and the impact of not getting seduced into somebody that looks, you know, they're right here in Bon Air, they're right at St. Edward's Church, but they're just not teachable. It's just not going to work out if they're not accompanied. And so if somebody wasn't teachable and they weren't accompanied, but they really wanted to work with you, you could say to them, if you get accompanied, I'd be happy to work with you.
Absolutely.
Yep. Great. Any other questions on WOW criteria?
Jan, if you're establishing your business and you need to build your clientele base, how would that be incorporated into this?
Well, for one thing, when it comes down to recurring business, I want referrals. And so I would be happier accepting a patient that maybe is a little bit lower on the fees charged, but they can give me a lot of referrals. And that's what those referrals are really going to matter to me to build my business. So that would be a good example of that. So let me come back to my PowerPoint. Yes, this is it. So when you get the PDF, you will see what Karen's criteria are. You will see a sample grid for job search. You'll see a sample search for clients, a grid for client search. And so here's what my tips are for you. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Don't be afraid to say no when it's a deal killer. Don't be afraid to negotiate for what it takes to get it out of the deal killer column and into at least the gray zone. Don't be afraid to even negotiate what's in the gray zone into a fully meets requirements. There's nothing the matter with a 5. Don't hold off for a 10. 5 is great. We mentioned rule out any options with 2 or 3 deal killers. Keep in play what's just 1 deal killer. Now you know what you need to negotiate. You can apply this to jobs, to clients, and more. I've bought houses. I've identified communities. My kids have decided what university they're going to go to when they were in college age. So here's my question. I've only got a couple of minutes. Any insights you would like to share with me? I know time is short.
Yeah. Hi, Jan. Yeah, I just wanted to, this is actually a really good way to clarify what you want.
Yes.
Because that's all part of creating what you want.
Exactly.
You know, I had never really thought about this, but this is really good because my therapist says, you know, one way to take the anxiety or to, you know, fear out of something is to plan for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this is really good. Thank you.
right. And you can also avoid having more deal killers in your life if that's better.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. One more.
So, Jan, I think this is a great tool. I'm reflecting on a job, you know, where they're flying a they're flying a job and they put the entire kitchen sink in there because they want to move you all around. But to be able to go into the interview and have what they are listing, but say these are deal killers for me. This is a really good tool.
Yeah, it really is. It grounds you. It puts you in the driver's seat. If the shoes don't fit, you're not going to get them. Yep. Okay. What other classes have said? It helped me identify what didn't work. I found what matches me. I could target the right patients for a win-win. Allowed me to be methodical on how to approach building clients. So all of this will be in the PDF that I send you. So also in the PDF, I don't have time is what I would recommend you do. If you're looking for a job, draft and complete your WOW criteria, find job postings that appeal to you. Make sure that your resume has what those job postings are looking for in terms of responsibilities and qualifications. Quantify what you've got. Look on LinkedIn for how other RNs present themselves. Refine your profile reflecting your brand. Reach out to leads. So for job seekers, that's what I would recommend. For those who are developing your practice, create your WOW criteria for the clients you want. Look on LinkedIn to see how other RN patient advocates are presenting themselves. See what you might want to adopt for your brand. Refine your profile to reflect that brand. Share your criteria with your network and secure leads. Reach out to the leads, assessing what can you do to help, and also whether that they represent the fit of what you're looking for. It's 9:05. I'm on time.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you. Thank you very much. All
You're very
righty.
welcome.
So now we come to the end of class, and if we can just do our takeaways for the 2 hours with Gary and with Jan, and anything else that came up for you. So Jennifer, what are your takeaways for the evening?
Well, I'm glad that Gary went over some of the items that he did. That was kind of a refresher from way back a couple months ago. And I was really going to start digging through all my notes to find that information. And Jan reiterating the resume versus the bio. I was just talking about that yesterday. It was interesting. My husband and I went out to a very nice dinner last night. And the theme was Paris in June. They match wines with foods that they serve. And I spoke to a couple who had just had to put her parents in an assisted living. They had them at their house for 4 years. And, my heart broke. She's got that parental guilt, like, those of us who are parents, when you were younger and you had to go to the grocery store before you picked your kids up and you felt bad because they were at daycare for an extra hour or two, or, I really tried to connect with guilty. It's different. It's different than a baby, and you did what you could. The stressors on people at this point are so great. It can tear up a marriage. It can conquer and divide. You want to give everything to your parents that they gave you as a child, but it's a whole different dimension. And, going over everything that you just, you spoke of, Jan, it's true. And, I told them what my passion was, and I told them that, that's what my business is going to be, and that I want to be there to help to advocate for people and say, these are things you can do. They live in a county that's, it's kind of between us and Charlottesville. It's Louisa, and it's a growing area, but they said we just couldn't find caregivers. And I've got at least 5 nursing friends who live out in that county who I know could resource through their churches or, people that they know, the school system. And I know I could resource to get them, people in there, had they still had that option. So it kind of just drives in there that much more how passionate I still am about nursing and helping people. So thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, and Lisa Seeds, what about you?
Well, I have to say that Jennifer's on point. Being a child of a sandwich generation where you've got young kids and elders that you're taking care of both of them, you get pulled in so many different directions. I think the tools that Jan has mentioned to us is very, very beneficial for your pros and cons, and what are your pros and what are your cons, and how to differentiate those. You can use that in pretty much every aspect of our lives. And so, you know, as per usual, she's been awesome. Gary he has just put words to what we are already thinking. How are we going to list our business? And, you know, what are the benefits of doing one versus cons of doing the other? You know, the reading that I was doing while I was listening, because I multitask all the time. Hence being that sandwich generation. But you know, a lot of times we just see so many people struggle because they can't mentally, physically, financially juggle so much and still be sane. And all of us are a little bit crazy, but you know, thank you very much. I appreciate all of the extras.
Thank you. And Leanne, what about you? Luann, rather. Sorry.
Okay, I'll answer. It's okay. Thank you, Jan. Stellar content, but I really, I'm so excited about the WOW tool for evaluating what type of patients I want. I hadn't even thought of that, so that's awesome. Thank you very much. The business portion of it was, you know, rock solid. I didn't get to ask my one question, but that's okay. It sounds like he was open for people to call him. So thank you.
Great. Lisa, in.
Yeah, good stuff, definitely. Yeah, that was always good. The information that Gary provided, you know, of what the nuts and bolts, what we need to do. And then I love the WOW criteria that Jan presented. Yeah, just have to put it down on paper so we can draw to us what we you know, our best possible clients and even gray zone, you know, what'll work and what won't. So love it. Thanks.
Lisa. And Mark, what about you?
I'd like to do just a quick sampling. Can you raise your hand if you use ChatGPT? Okay, so we have a handful of people, and what the reason I'm asking this is, Jan, you are creating the prompts to get better answers out of ChatGPT. And part of the reason I'm late tonight is I actually went to an actual digital nomad event where a healthcare professional of 25 years targeting nurses talked about the marketing elements of ChatGPT. And it's a tool that continues to evolve. And I think Jan has qualified some outstanding prompts to help get better answers out of this tool without, you know, going into a personal identifiable information type scenario. So I think those of you that have tried it somewhat understand what I just said.
Thank you,
Very
Mark.
interesting.
Okay, Matthew, what about you?
Well, Gary, you know, it's all good. I look forward. I'm tired tonight. I'm going to have to, when I get to work tomorrow, maybe print out or really look at his document that he sent. That's really helpful. And Jan, of course, that's wonderful. I do need to send you my resume. It is so boring. I think it's been effective, but it's so boring. I can't even look at it again. I really can't. And things have settled down enough for me right now that I don't think it's as dynamic. So, and then the wow factor, I've actually been working on that today for another situation. I have a group that's going to be making a webinar on me to launch in about a month. I have to go through all that. I have to identify who the perfect client is so I don't write to the wrong people and just waste my time. And and this is really down and dirty. It's really wonderful. So thank you very much. I look forward to using that this week.
Great.
You. And Liz.
Really glad we circled back with Gary because I'm in a better place to hear that now. My Yeah. And I've sent in my resume and appreciated it. Next up is the bio. And I was maybe possibly working on my business cards while we were chatting. I feel like I'm moving right along. This was a really helpful class today. I love the WOW tool. I so need that help because I'll get stuck in my mind and feel guilty if I'm not going to help some. I just already know the drama I'll create and I'd prefer to avoid it.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you. And Sonia.
Well, tonight I have 7 pages of notes that I'll have to go through later. Just trying to put down all the information that I was able to capture. But both presenters were awesome. I love the refreshing information because I didn't go back through everything we discussed in the previous class. And I think it was Jennifer that was talking about her application today. Yes, it is a very long process because it is the U.S. government. So when Jan helped me to kind of condense my resume, I really truly appreciate that because that helped me to kind of consolidate what the high points were in my resume that I can put on my LinkedIn, which I still haven't done yet, but that's what I plan on doing. And we're discussing the chat GPT. Well, as we were discussing, or as I was listening to class, just thinking about, how I'll get into with 30 tribes of Oklahoma, because that's my target area. And so I put that into there to see what it would say, and it said, "This is very challenging. I don't want to discuss it anymore." And so I might have broke it. But it's just my little thing and figuring out a different way to navigate. And it's just interesting to see all of it play out. But yes, very great class tonight. Very informative.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Well, thank you all. Jennifer, did you have a last minute question?
Yeah, well, I just want to give a quick update. Sabrina said that her temperature's been hovering around 103 all day. And that they're changing her antibiotics. So I know she'll feel great. She said, thank you, everybody, for your prayers. I said that we were sending all of our holistic vibes to her. So if everybody kind of wants to reach out and just give her a little bit of love. I don't know what hospital she's in, so I don't know if I'll send flowers or anything, but just reach out to her, tell her that we love her.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Thanks for everyone. And we're going to send Jennifer love now. Mark, can you take a picture of this sending Jennifer love? I don't know why I have green behind me, but that's drippy. And thank you so much, you all. And tell us when you take a picture, Mark.
You're muted, so we can't hear you.
I'm doing the countdown of 3, 2, 1, and here we go. Just priceless, priceless. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you all. See you next week. Yay. Bye-bye. Thank you.
all.
Thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.